We've had an amazing bunch of presenters give us of their time and energy this year. Do you remember these people? Brian Johnson talking about the Swiss cheese, not the edible type, but what happens when errors line up and dreadful things happen. Eric Hibbert, who's here today, talking about the weather, whether to work that day or not. David Archibald, probably one of our more controversial speakers. Am I right? For those who remember, he spoke about fighter aircraft designs 2023, and he had rather fixed ideas on which aircraft made the better fighter. He came back later and spoke about something that's very controversial, the Ukrainian-Russian war, what was happening in that theatre. As I said, his views were right-wing and didn't go down well with a lot of people, but I found it interesting, and in our society you have the right to express your view, don't you? Vic Kaiser, now that was different because Vic, flying for the South African Air Force, said he didn't want his talk recorded and viewed on YouTube, which is our channel, because the Russians have long memories. No idea what he meant by that, but he didn't want to be tracked down in his suburb. Paul Williams, talking about the birth of an Air Force, perhaps even finding love in Africa. Oh, Ruth, hello. Tony Atkinson, Earthquake Magoon, do you remember that one? A larger-than-life character. Peter Alcock, Mawson and Wilkins Explorations. Peter's giving a talk at the University of Third Age today. He's a hard man to commit to coming because he is so busy. He also happens to be a classmate of mine from 65 or so years ago. He hasn't changed a bit, lost a bit of hair though. Richard Ewing, you here today. There he is. What happens when you lose that sound from the front of your aircraft on takeoff and the prop goes still? What are your choices? And saying hell isn't one of them. Millie Formby, do you remember that young lady? An extraordinary young lady who took a while, yes, it was a while, to fly in a microlight around Australia, promoting the cause of shorebirds. Frish Bavon, there was a lot of positive feedback after her talk. She was absolutely terrified to speak in public, and yet comes from a background as an ex-MMA hostess. She was lucid, interesting, absolutely delight to have here. Peter Gall, Peter's here today. He started a well-researched talk on Bert Hinkler and his flying activities. Absolutely fascinating stuff, and that's not the finish of that Bert Hinkler story because Peter's got other stuff in the fire. And today, Sue Freeman. Aren't we delighted to have Sue back? What about a round of applause for Sue? Sue said, what do I talk about? I've already told the interesting stuff, Sue. See, you can read from the newspaper. I don't care. Because whatever you say will be interesting. And the guys and gals will lap it up. So we do thank all our presenters for sharing their stories.